episode 172, No Greater Wealth Than Peace of Mind.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And it is Tuesday, I think. Welcome to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Now, that yesterday I introduced the concept of, your 10-year plan being achievable in, until Christmas, essentially. I hope everybody is hustling, but still staying loyal to this little crazy fucked up show, with today's episode being about wealth in a different sense, in a more socialist way. But before we drill deep down into Marxist and Leninist and Stalinistic theory, I think it's worth pointing out and going back to our daily little housekeeping routine, where sharing is caring, as every day. So perhaps if, on this episode or any other resonates maybe not as well with yourself, but you were talking to, a friend or family member who was suffering from something, and you think that this episode is, could help them out, please make sure to share it with them. If you're not technically that, advanced, to be very diplomatic, every podcast app pretty much has a sharing function. Just visit theverybestpodcastintheworld.com, and under every post and page and whatnot, there's a bunch of social sharing symbols, so you can, just holler out kudos for the show. I was missing the right word there. Appraisal. So anyhow, as you can see, I'm a fucking happy camper, happy camper, as pretty much every day. And because I'm going to underline this episode with a few examples that, kind of led for me into premature retirement, to a degree where I do still work. As you can see, I'm here for you guys pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, at least at noon GMT. I think that's 6 for the Americans out there in New York. And how many time zones are there? 4, if I recall correctly. So about 2 a.m. For those folks in Los Angeles. I can do the Ibiza thing. Ibiza. And that's, kind of like what led, what are the examples that I'm going to kind of try and point out why wealth doesn't necessarily have a monetary price tag to it. Right. Or that, well, let me get started first before I get ahead of myself, as I usually do. So, one core important question for yourself in life is, do you want to become wealthy? Right. And I think most of you do. Right. Most of the listeners here are, in the process of, or have already achieved a good amount of monetary wealth. Right. But there comes a point when, at least for some people, where it just, clicks in your head and you're like, okay, can I take this money with me? Right. And that, for me, I've outlined this example a few times. Happened for me when I was transiting through Dubai, and I was sitting in the first class lounge, and I was on the phone and talked to a friend And this dude, when I hung up the phone, sits at my table, asks if he can sit at my table. Very polite gentleman. And we get into polite conversation in German because he heard me talking German on the phone. This was in the middle of the night, Dubai time. And, we were conversing back and forth because we had stupid layovers, both of us. And I think he was heading to Shanghai, and I was heading back to Hamburg. So, sorry, picked my nose and kicked the microphone. Sorry. So anyhow, reflex. Anyhow, we polite conversation continues, and we eventually, as you always do, get to the point of retirement. And he's like, "Yeah, I want to keep bees," and whatever not. And the dude looked rather old, so it kind of slipped my tongue. And I said, what, I have that long till retirement. And the guy just looks at me in awe. And he's like, I'm 52 or 53 or something like that. So he had about, 10 years plus left until he could actually retire. And this dude was smoking more than I was. And I'm, not a light smoker. And he was sipping whiskey more than I could. And he was fucking sober. He could lead an intelligent conversation. And that's when I kind of laid back. We parted ways, never saw each other again, and didn't even exchange business cards. It was just when one of these, what are they called, short-term friends or something, or single-serving friends or whatever it was in Fight Club. So anyway, I couldn't forget about this conversation for the longest time while sitting there, contemplating on this. I called up, anyhow, long story short, for me, that was the pivotal point where I said, okay, look, you can carry on in this hamster wheel, right? Which essentially it was. It was just spinning a lot faster than a 9-to-5 hamster wheel, right? I was managing projects on 3 different continents at times, right? Simultaneously. So major part of my life was taking part in airplanes, right? And, going from one destination to another to fix a burning fire that had just erupted there. That was my life, right? But I was making obscene amounts of money. The good thing was that I was spending so much time in fucking airplanes that I couldn't spend it, right? Most of it, at least. So anyhow, I came to a point in my mid-30s where I said, okay, look, you can now sustain yourself from the wealth you've accumulated, probably a very long time, if not, for the rest of your natural life. And that for me was wealth, right? I went into it, was it even yesterday or day before? Don't know. The wealth part of it for me was to be able to tell a client, go fuck yourself. If the project was shitty, or if the client was an idiot, I was able to say, sorry, not the guy for you. Go fuck off, die somewhere else with my competition. And I was good, and I still am, because I'm insanely passionate about everything I do, right? When this podcast started out, I was anticipating something like 25 episodes until I throw the towel. But the support that came from the community was just so fucking great that, what is this show 172, right? This is close to a year worth of, standing in front of the microphone and pulling a story out my ass, of which I have plenty, of something that I've gone through and relating it with an interesting topic. So, wealth is defined by you, right? If it means for you that you've got to have the Lambo, you've got to have the Hublet, or, whatever insanely expensive watch is trending now, you definitely need to work longer than someone that says, okay, I'm at a stage where I have reached my, self-sustainability, right? This is freedom for me because I can tell everyone to go fuck themselves. I'm not rich. I don't have the Ferrari. I don't have the status symbol watch. I don't have the trophy wife. I don't have the villa. I've got a very comfortable, cozy home somewhere on God's green earth, or yellow earth, if you're in the desert or close to it, right? But you get the point, right? There comes this point when you can just go and tell everybody in the face to just piss off. And that for me personally was wealth. Now, again, you have to define it for yourself, right? But how do we get from that level of wealth translating into peace of mind, right? There's a beautiful thing, and it pretty much relates to what I just said, is what is peace of mind for you, right? Is peace of mind for you, being a, I don't know, civil servant in a position where you're pretty much unfireable, you're unterminatable, if that is even a word. If that is peace of mind for you, then you are wealthy, right? But you're still in a predicament that you have to answer to people. And if you want to get rid of that, right? What I'm trying to say here is if you manage to reach equality between your definition of wealth and your definition of peace of mind, if you put these two on two separate sides of the scale and it balances out, right? Then you are in a position where where your wealth will just stay balanced with your personal interpretation of peace of mind. Now, I hope you weren't anticipating that I'm going to show you the route, because I never, ever will. Simply because I will be influencing you, and I don't like to do that. There's got to come the point in your life where you find definitions for these two things, and then try and even them out for yourself, and then figure out what you're going to do with it all by yourself, right? So in that sense, I hope that, you're going to have a successful, mind-boggling wrapping your head around this episode rest of your Tuesday. And if you've already had, have a good night, and we'll be in touch tomorrow. Bye, folks.